The oldest international sporting event isn't Wimbledon. It isn't even the modern Olympics. It's a 175-year-old sailing race where billionaires build boats that fly meters above the water at over 100 kilometers an hour. This is the story of the greatest sporting event in history, the America's Cup. In 1851, as part of the Great Exhibition, a fair to showcase Britain's industrial dominance, the Royal Yacht Squadron organised a yacht race around the Isle of Wight. The winner would receive the £100 cup, an ornate silver ewer. The race was originally intended to be between 15 British boats, 8 cutters and 7 schooners, but to promote international competition, it was open to all nations. The New York Yacht Club had been formed only a few years earlier, and upon receiving an invitation, decided to commission a new yacht to showcase US shipbuilding capabilities. And so, the America was born. 101 feet long, with a clipper bow and raked masts, the America's design shocked Europe. Most British yachts still used the older cod's head mackerel tail hull form, with a blunt bow and a fine stern. But America's sleek modern shape made her exceptionally fast for her time, especially on upwinds and reaches. The course was roughly 53 nautical miles, circumnavigating the Isle of Wight from Cowes. The race wasn't handicapped, and soon had a rules dispute known as the Nab Light controversy. The Nab Light was a lighthouse buoy offshore. The race instructions implied it was to be rounded, but never stated this explicitly. The 4 leading British yachts tacked to seaward to round it, while America cut straight across a shallow patch, saving significant distance and bypassing the buoy entirely. Many considered this unsporting, but it was fully legal under the written instructions. The race lasted over 10.5 hours, with fierce tacking duels and light winds as the British tried to slow America, but her superior design and the shorter course that she sailed prevailed. When America crossed the finish line, Queen Victoria famously asked, "Who's second?" The reply, "Your Majesty, there is no second." In 1870, the British came back for revenge. Their yacht Cambria crossed the Atlantic, ready to reclaim the trophy they'd lost to America 19 years earlier. Unfortunately for them, the New York Yacht Club decided the fairest possible thing to do was to race Cambria against 17 American schooners at once. Cambria finished 10th, America finished 4th, and Magic crossed the line first, keeping the cup exactly where it had been since 1851. A year later, the British tried again with Livonia. The US defender Columbia won the opening races, took some damage, and had to withdraw. So the Americans just brought out Sappho, a completely different yacht to finish the job. Throughout the 1870s and 80s, it was the same pattern. Challengers would line up and the US would beat them one by one. Britain challenged again in 1885, 86 and 87 with Genesta, Galatea and Thistle, each beautifully built and ready to race. America responded with Puritan, Mayflower and Volunteer, each faster, lighter and usually across the finish line several minutes ahead. America's winning streak continued throughout the rest of the 1880s. In 1903, the largest monohull in America's Cup history was raced by Captain Charles Barr. Named Reliance, she spanned over 200 feet in length and had masts the height of a 20-story building. She needed a crew of 64 men to sail, and unsurprisingly defended the cup. After 2 decades without a new challenger as a result of the war and economic hardship, the cup returned in style with J-class yachts, which are still raced to this day. The 1930 match featured Enterprise defending against Shamrock 5, helmed by Sir Thomas Lipton. Lipton was one of the most famous America's Cup sailors, challenging 5 times, each in a yacht called Shamrock, and each time he lost. Despite this, he was adored by the Americans, and is still remembered as one of the most beloved losers in the history of sport. In 1934 came the legendary Endeavour, one of the first challengers to seriously threaten America's winning streak. She won the first 2 races, but some protests, tactical incidents, and a few conveniently interpreted rules allowed the US defender Rainbow to retain the cup 4-2. After World War II, it took almost 15 years before the cup started again. The old style of America's Cup faced many issues, particularly with the costs and feasibility of the giant J-class yachts. To combat this, a new class of boat was pushed, the 12-meter class, which in typical sailing fashion is not 12 meters long, but instead between 20 and 23. The idea came from Henry Sears, Commodore of the New York Yacht Club, who wanted to revive the Cup but with major updates. In order to achieve this change, the America's Cup deed of gift would have to be changed, something that proved to be quite an issue as the original members of the trust deed had long since passed away. Sears also faced pushback within his club, with many members believing the cup should be retired and retained as a memento of a glorious era of yacht racing. After plenty of debate with the New York Yacht Club, he filed the petition in September 1956, and by December the court agreed. The modern America's Cup was officially born. With the new style of boats agreed upon, Britain prepared for its comeback. Within this era of the Cup, many new materials and technologies began being incorporated into the boats. Dacron and then Mylar sails became the norm, providing greater strength, speed, and efficiency. These new materials gave the strength to use higher aspect ratio rigs, taller and thinner instead of wider. Aluminium replaced wood, becoming the norm for hulls and spars, and early computational design tools were used to virtually model the boats. By the late 1970s, the Cup had entered a new era of engineering and science, with boats almost unrecognizable since the beginning of the rule change. And yet, within all this time, the US still had not lost a single America's Cup challenge. So, why was it so hard to beat the United States? Well, the first reason was home water advantage. America currently held the Cup, and this meant the title race would be in their water. This enabled America to build yachts specifically designed for local conditions and rigorously test them ahead of the race. As well as this, up until the mid-1950s, challengers had to sail the boat from their home port to the port of the race, often leading to damage along the way, and choosing heavier reinforced hulls over lighter, faster hulls. Another difficulty faced by challengers was that the rules of the event heavily favoured the defender, and if in doubt, the rules tended to bend towards the New York Yacht Club. A famous example of this was the 1934 America's Cup, which ended with the famous slogan, "Britannia rules the waves, America waves the rules." In 1980, the defender was Freedom, helmed by Dennis Conner. As the Challenger Series began, Australia blitzed through all their races, securing the honour of racing the US for the Cup. But once again, the Challenger lost and the Cup was successfully defended. No one knew it yet, but this was to be the final successful defense of the Cup in America's 132-year winning streak. Because, behind the scenes, something had changed. Teams were now training year-round. Designers were using computer modelling to test boats before they had even been built. And in Western Australia, a secret design was taking shape. A design so advanced it would change Cup history forever.